Chapter 15, Part 2. I'm going straight into it. She held his gaze. 1 second. 2, 3. Until Lucky thought his heart was going to explode. And then, at last, the Shadow Guard nodded and let his hand fall back to his side. That won't be necessary, he said, returning Frolix's ident. You can go now, but be careful. Theobroma's armour is everywhere. Yes, sir, mumbled Frolix. Thank you, sir. He tried the engine again. Finally, it sparked into life. His hands were still shaking as he found a gap in the crowd and drove away from the protest march. No one spoke until they were in the clear and speeding through the rain. Frolix groaned. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry I put us through that. But you did good there, Bixa. Real good. I owe you. Me too, said Lucky, still shaking uncontrollably. They'd come so close to disaster. You were brilliant, Bixa. I was. Wasn't I? She turned round and grinned like comets. Her sudden grins came flashing out of nothing, seemed to light up the world, and then soared away again. Weren't you scared? He asked her. Yeah, she said quietly. We're all of us scared when it comes to them. I ain't scared of anything, Frolix mumbled, except for them. Brave, she shook her head. Brave would have been standing up. But you didn't seem scared at all, Lucky told Bixa. You were so brave. Brave, she said. She shook her head. Brave would have been standing up for what we believe in, like those marchers, or fighting them, like your mother did. Lucky was silent. The fire in his heart burned at the memory. Come on, Bixa, said Frolix. You can't fight them. You know you can. Maybe I could, if only I had the guts. I've worked my whole life to make sure I can defend myself, and I'm a good fighter. I know I am, but I'll never find out, will I? Lucky was puzzled. Why not? He asked her. What's stopping you? Is it because you're going to be a star stalker? No, she snapped, needles darkening. Frolix glanced back at her, then looked away without a word. Anyway, she muttered, don't get too excited about that whole star talker. Oh, it's not star stalker, it's star talker. Sorry if I've been calling it star stalker. About that whole star talker thing. That's Mystica's idea, not ours. Above their heads there was another crack of thunder. The rain thickened. The streets were getting wetter and wetter. Deep puddles were forming, glowing with reflections, like there was another world just below the surface of the water. We'd better take cover, said Frolix, till the storm passes. He pulled up by a cycle shelter on the side of the road. It was a corrugated iron shack, just big enough for the three of them to huddle beneath it. Raindrops pattered on its roof as they watched the storm play out before them. After a while, Frolix took a pipe out of his pocket and lit it. He drew deep on the pipe and smoke rose in spirals from its bowl. Okay, he said at last. I think there's something you should know about us, Lucky. It's only fair. Right, Bixa? Bixa shrugged. Her needle's almost black now. You tell him if you want to. I can't. Tell me what, said Lucky. Frolix took another deep drag on the pipe. The shelter was full of its smoky scent now, as well as the storm smells of rain and wet leaves. Well, he said, it's about our family and who we really are. Your brother and sister, right? Said Lucky. Course, said Frolix. And Mystica and Nox? They're your grandparents. They're our grandparents. Frolix exhaled with a sigh. Their daughter, Joxy, our mum, well, there is a reason why you haven't met her, or our dad. See, back before the war, before any of us were born, Joxy went travelling through the worlds, and on her travels she fell in love with a human. A man called Jonathan. Jonathan, said Lucky. Outside the shelter, raindrops were rippling the surface of a puddle. Mystica mentioned that name. She said my contact lenses were his. Yeah, Frolix looked away. He needed to disguise himself, because not everyone liked to see an actor and a human together. People said it was natural. Some people even thought they were different species. But that's not true, and the proof is, Axa and humans can have kids together, just like our parents did. Jonathan's your father, said Lucky. Your father's human. Amazing, ain't it? Said Frolix, his eyes glinting blue in the shadows of the shelter. We look Axa like our mother, because the genetic line always follows the mother's side. But the truth is, we're half Axa, half human. Lucky couldn't help grinning. So you're groundlings, he said. You're like me. Don't push it, said Bixa as the rain streamed down. We're both and we're neither, but what difference does it make? To humans we just look alien, so we're treated like aliens. And even among Exa, said FROLLIX, it's never been easy. When the war came, everyone had to choose sides. We couldn't. The Star Talkers refused to, because they could see all points of view. The Exa King and the human president both hated them for it, and our people were so fired up they turned against the Star Talkers too. It got dangerous. We weren't welcome anywhere. Our family got trapped in the middle of a battle between Shadow Guards and Exa family. Captain Knox saved us. He got us away to safety on the Sunfire, though we had to fly through exploding dark matter bombs to do it. But our parents, they didn't make it. They were caught in the crossfire and killed. Shot by both sides. Lucky's grin was gone. He felt awful. Oh no, he said. I'm so sorry. I was just a kid, said FROLLIX. He blew out a series of smoke rings. Bixa was so little I had to carry her onto the ship. But I remember everything right there. If the Star Talkers can't even defend their own families, then who cares about Star Talking her? What's the point? He shook his head. Mystica never could explain that one to me. Her and the captain. All they wanted to do was keep us safe from violence. So they took us away from the war zone and brought us to the quietest human worlds, looking for a peaceful life. Never did find it, added Bixa in a small voice. So that's why the captain won't let you fight, said Lucky. He leaned back and watched the smoke rise in spirals from FROLLIX's pipe. In the glow of its embers, it seemed to him that he saw his companions clearly for the first time. At last he understood that strange gap between Mystica and Knox, the old people, and FROLLIX and Bixa, the young. He felt the absence that no one ever spoke of, but it was always there, between them, on the ship. And now he could see why his disguise had upset them so much. I think you're both so brave to come through all that. We survived, said Bixa, but only because we never ever tried to stand up to them. We never tried to change anything. We just keep our heads down and let them rule us. And that's not brave. That's cowardice. Lucky didn't agree. Now that he knew their story, he thought the way she'd just outwitted the Shadow Guard was even braver and more brilliant than he had before. But he kept his opinions to himself. There were no more words between them. They were each lost in their own thoughts and memories. Gradually the storm passed. The rain eased off and the sun came out again. They left the shelter and FROLLIX drove them through glistening city streets until at last they arrived at a riverbank. He parked by a vast bridge that spanned the river. There was a series of caverns in the arches beneath it. Lucky could see people inside these caverns, and he heard the deep bass kick of music, an oceanic sound like heartbeats in a womb. So this is it, said FROLLIX, the famous market of Leo 5, the place where you can get anything your heart desires. Well, that's the end of our reading. We've got 7. The wolf poisons hearts. The Astraeus of love cannot heal them, for they are too full of hate. And then we're on to chapter 16 next, when we pick this up after Easter. Super reading. I'm again really enjoying the storyline. Really interested to see where Lucky is going. Really think they have... even though we're dealing with aliens and it's a supernatural story, we've got such deep characters, and I have a warmth towards all of them, and I feel like we're getting an individual part of all 5 of our key characters now. And even Mum, who's gone, I still felt like we got a good grip on her character, which is a sign that we're getting really involved in this story. Enjoy your Easter holidays, and we'll pick this up again when we're back. We'll do a few chapters that first week back. Enjoy.